Okay. Welcome. The Unitarian Church of Montpelier is located on Western Abenaki land, which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange among indigenous peoples. We now have the privilege of gathering here as a religious community. People can peacefully, we have the privilege of gathering here as a religious community, and we honor this legacy by providing a respectful meeting place where all people can peacefully exchange ideas, beliefs, and our shared concern for others and the natural world, and to preserve its beauty. Good morning. Good morning. I am Diane Marie. My pronouns are she, her, and I am your worship associate today. On behalf of the full worship team, I warmly welcome and deeply appreciate each one of you. And thank you to all of you gathered here in this sanctuary and joining our community via the live stream option. Thank you for joining together in shared worship on this almost spring morning and the last day of the pledge drive. We are so glad you are with us in our time of worship this morning. Since 1864, the Unitarian Church of Montpelier has been a sanctuary for those seeking both personal and spiritual sustenance and widespread justice, peace, goodwill, and love. We are fortunate to have a strong ministerial leadership for this work. Equally important, this church community thrives on the ideas and the actions that all of you bring. From newcomers to longtimers, we are stronger together. It's always a pleasure to have newcomers and guests. If this is your first or second time visiting and you wish to do so, you are invited to stand or wave your hands so we may offer you a special welcome. Newcomers are invited to fill out our welcome form available at the hospitality table in the vestry during coffee hours so that we may connect with you more and welcome you more fully. Now let us take a moment to welcome our neighbors in the pews. Such wonderful conversations, wonderful conversations. All of you are invited to continue your conversations during coffee hour after the service in the vestry below, so that everyone present can get the most out of our time together this morning. We have hearing assist devices available on the table in the rear of the sanctuary. You can also listen to and watch the service in the fireplace room downstairs if you care to leave for any reason. And now is the time to make sure that your cell phones are silenced. Also, a member of our lay pastoral care team is available here in the sanctuary after the service if you have a personal concern and would like to share more deeply. This morning, our lay pastoral caregiver is Betty McKinnell. There she is. Today, you are welcome to submit any joys or concerns you'd like shared aloud in writing using the paper in the form in the pews. You can pass them along with the pouch to be collected during the offering. So they're down at the ends. So now I'm going to talk to you about why I joined the church and why I pledge. Today is the last day of the pledge drive, and I am increasing my pledge commitment this year. Because a few years ago, my life changed dramatically. It was a very uncertain and distressing time for me. I had to start over, and I decided I would start over by moving to Vermont. I didn't know anybody in Vermont. I didn't know anybody in all of New England. I knew I needed to find a place where I could meet people. I had one requirement. There had to be a choir. While I was searching around on the web, I found the UCM website. I never attended church, and the idea of going to church was a foreign concept. Yet as I read through the website, I thought that maybe this could be my new community, and there was a choir. So almost exactly 4 years ago to this day, I walked down Main Street and stood right on that corner. It was empty, sidewalk, because it was still kind of COVID-ish, and I read the Martin Luther King quote in the window walks with the Pride and Black Lives Matter flags blowing in the breeze. I told myself, this is my church. I moved here because of this church. 4 years later, the Unitarian Church of Montpelier has become my home, my safe place, my community. This church is the reason I am able to carry on and live a meaningful life. This place gave me purpose. Now, we are all in an uncertain and distressing time. And for me, I need this church more than ever. And although I'm worried about my future finances, given the times we are in, I know I need this place. And because of that, I'm increasing my contribution, because I can at this time. That may change in the future, but right now I am able. And I want to make sure that others who are like I was 4 years ago have a safe place to go to find solace, peace, and well-being, a community. So I'm asking, if you are able, please consider pledging or increasing your pledge. We need this place because we are stronger together. Okay, so now let us all take a deep breath and enter more deeply into our time of worship with a prelude.
These opening words are by Margaret Wise. The church is not only a place, the church is a people. The church is not only a steeple above the tree line, streets, and cars. Rather, it is a people proclaiming to the world that we are here for the work of healing and of justice. The church is not walls built stone upon stone, held together by mortar, but rather person linked with person, linked with person. All ages and genders and abilities, a community built on the foundation of reason, faith, and love. The church is not just a set of doors open on Sunday morning, but the commitment day after day and moment after moment of our hearts creaking open, the doors of welcome to the possibility of new experience. The church is not simply a building, a steeple, and these pews. The church is the gathering together of all people and experience, the fear and love and hope in our resilient hearts, gathering however we can to say to the world, welcome, come in, lay down your heartache, and pick up hope and love. For the church is us, each and every one of us, together a beacon of hope to this world that so sorely needs it. And let us join together, my church, our voices for our opening hymn, number 347 in the gray hymnal, Gather the Spirit. Please rise in body or spirit.
Please join me in welcoming the Stewardship Committee, Brenda Bean, Scott Hess, and Ansel Plug to light our chalice. As the stewardship members, oh, here they come.
And other members.
Oh, and other members. There are quite a few. Who? That's right. Yeah, one, they're going to decide who's going to light the chalice. There we go. Well, as the chalice is lighted, I share these words of J.E. Abernathy, Jr. We affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth is our constant star. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a beloved community. Thus we do covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life. And now, in unison, let us speak our covenant. We covenant to speak honestly and listen deeply to each other and the voice within, treat each other with compassion and honor our differences, take responsibility for the impact our words, actions, and inactions have on each other, support each other in times of need and of grief, and celebrate the beauty and joy in our lives. Honor the gifts of the past and be gentle with each other as we grow. Encourage each other in the brave work of creating a more beloved community and a healthy, sustainable world. And forgive each other and start again. Thank you to the committee, the whole committee.
As Diane noted, today we come to the official end of our annual pledge drive, our time each year to reflect on what this religious community means to us and how we can dedicate our financial resources to sustain and grow our mission and ministries. Committing one's resources to this place and this people is no small thing, and today we celebrate this shared commitment. Many of you have already made your pledge for the 2025-2026 church year. As of this morning, we have 118 pledges made, totaling $269,093. Thank you. Some of you have come today with your pledge in hand. Thank you. Some of you are still determining whether you will or can make a financial pledge. Thank you for being here and giving what you can to this community. In just a moment, I will invite you to participate in a ritual of commitment. As we prepare for this ritual, I invite you, any of you of all ages, to reflect on your values, the things you hold dear, those guiding stars for your ethics and religious commitments. And reflect on how it is that this congregation offers you a way to live those values. We bring all of these commitments together as a congregation with shared purpose, shared hopes, and shared dreams for the future. At the front of the chancel, we have created a flower garden of sorts. Each flower petal has the words that you shared 4 Sundays ago, describing how this community makes you stronger. You wrote that this community makes you stronger through singing together, through volunteering together to keep people sheltered, through listening to each other without judgment, to contributing what you can of your time and your resources, to offering friendship and laughter, and to celebrating beauty and joy. And in your pews at the center aisle, you will find a maroon pouch which contains several stones. And I invite you to take a stone, and if you wish, to come forward in a moment with your stone, symbolizing your commitment to your values and to this congregation. If you happen to have brought your paper pledge with you today, you can also bring that forward and place it in the box that is up front on the table. And together we will add to the foundations for this strong garden that we create as part of this religious community. I'll also note that in the bed of the flower pot are some larger rocks that you might remember back in November. We wrote some prayers that we had for our community and the world, and those rocks are the initial layer of a foundation. And I invite you to bring your stones of commitment forward to add to it. And please come forward using the center aisle. May our community be blessed by the commitments that we make today and every day as we draw strength and purpose from one another. Thank you all.
Good morning. Good morning. Now I'd like to invite all the children to the Children's Chapel to participate in either our pre-K to grade 2 or grades 3 through 6 spiritual exploration programming. If you're a new family, please accompany your child and then you can stay or return to service. We're so happy to have all our children and youth here with us today. And now let's sing the children out as we go.
I have a few announcements for you today. All are welcome to attend the memorial service for Rob Chickering today at 2 p.m. Finger food items for the reception are appreciated. Please bring them in by 1:30. Next Sunday, the membership team is hosting a membership brunch after the service. Enjoy brunch together, meet new friends, and get to know longtime members as well as new. Members and friends are all welcome. The annual General Assembly for the Unitarian Universalist Association, UUA, is taking place from June 18th to the 22nd in Baltimore, Maryland, and online. The UCM is allotted 5 delegates. You could be one of them. To find out more information, please reach out to Steve Grunwald or Steve Finner. And also, you can get much more information on the e-news. And I always enjoy reading the e-news because so many of those news alerts are not enjoyable, but the e-news from UCM warms your heart and also very informational. Now I would like to ask Diane Kinney to come up and tell us about the work Circle does for our community.
Thank you so much for inviting me here today. My name's Diane Kinney. I'm the co-director of Circle, which is Washington County's domestic and sexual violence agency. What I'm experiencing here this morning, your community, has really filled me up already. It's a wonderful community, and being able to talk with you today is really special for me. Having community and being in community is exactly what abusive people don't want. So this is the antithesis of abuse. Thank you for creating it. One of the reasons that I think you all asked me here is because you're astute enough to know that in these turbulent, disturbing times, we, as a nonprofit who provides services to women and families and vulnerable folks, are in danger. We are 60% federally funded. We have already been told that we will not be allowed to apply for, or they won't exist. The Office of Violence Against Women grants will not be given this year. So as you can imagine, we are worried and scared, and we know how to do this. We work with folks who are threatened by abusive people all the time. And that is unfortunately what is happening in our country right now. So let me, before I talk more about that, let me just tell you a little bit about what we do. Our services are free and confidential. All of our services can be accessed through our 24-hour hotline, 24/7. Staff and volunteers answer that hotline. You don't have to be in crisis to call us. You can call us because you want information. You can call us because your child is being hurt in a relationship. You can call us because your friend is being emotionally abused and you're not sure what to do. Like I said, our services are confidential, so you can't call us and say, please call Mary Ann because she needs your help, okay? Mary Ann needs to call us because Mary Ann gets told what to do every day. And we don't want that to happen. We want whoever calls us to be calling of their own volition, okay? One of the services that we provide also is our shelter. And that's how you would access our shelter, through the hotline. When we are talking with people about leaving an abusive relationship, that can take a while. Because as I'm sure some of you know, leaving in an abusive relationship is the most dangerous time. Abuse is about power and control. A person who is abusing an intimate partner or another person will understand that they're losing control if that person's thinking about leaving. And their tightening of behavior, their escalation of behavior will increase. Whenever you hear that there is a murder at the hands of an intimate partner, it is when the person has either recently left or is planning to leave. That's what happens. Recently, we were working with a family to come into shelter, and we worked with them for probably over a month to talk about how to do it safely, figuring out when they can access a ride, to do it when the abusive partner was not going to be around, to make sure that they had all of their important papers with them, their Social Security card, their driver's license, their birth certificates, insurance information. All of those things are needed to start over. I'm sure you all are aware of the housing issues in our county, state, and world right now. Many times when folks are fleeing abusive relationships, they don't get all those papers together. Often, an abusive partner will destroy them if they don't take them with as another means of control. And then trying to find an apartment or a living situation without those documents is really, really seriously hard. So what we do is talk to folks about how to plan to get out safely. So that family, they planned, they managed to find a friend that could drive them because they didn't have access to a vehicle. They came into our shelter, and our shelter is an old 6-bedroom house. It's very large, it's very welcoming, it looks like your house, except there's 6 bedrooms, and the kitchen's really big, and the playroom's really big. People share kitchen and they share bathrooms, but they have their own room with their family. So we got everybody in the house, kids are playing in the playroom. I look at Mom, and she has her arms around her oldest child, who's crying. And I look at Mom and I'm like, are we okay? And Mom said, yes. This is the first hug I've gotten in a very long time. The other children were running around Like, is this where we live now? Can we stay here? Do we sleep here? You know, so it takes some time to get used to kids being in the house, and we give them a nice tour, and there's outdoor space to play in. We're also in a confidential location, and our house can't be seen from the street where we are, which is lovely. So it's fairly safe. We have a security system, all that good stuff. Generally, folks are really safe there. If they're not, we help them move somewhere else. We can't bring everybody that needs safety into our shelter because we only have 6 bedrooms, and our length of stay is way longer than it used to be. 10 years ago, we could bring a family in 5-6 months. They'd have jobs, have a place to live, go. Now, depending on the complications, it can be 9 months to a year to a year and a half, which means we can't bring other people in. The other thing we help with is protective orders. So that's a civil order. You don't need to have police involvement. We help folks to get those. We help folks who are within the criminal process, meaning that their abusive partner was arrested. So then that process, I'm not sure if any of you have dealt with it. It's really complicated, not easily understood, and having folks who are traumatized having to negotiate it is really hard. So it's another thing that we do. We also provide support groups so that folks can come, gather, talk in community about what has happened to them. And almost always they find commonalities because what is happening to them isn't a one-time deal. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men are abused in a relationship in their lifetime. We work collaboratively with everyone in Washington County. We work with the Department of Children and Families, we work with the Health Department, we work with the State's Attorney's Office, we work with the police departments. One thing I want to make sure you understand is that leaving an abusive relationship is not the end. For many folks, it's just the beginning. Because like I said before, it's about control. So when the person has left, if there are children in that relationship, the children become the way that the abusive partner controls. We've worked with a family that came into our shelter over 4 years ago. We are still working with them through our support groups, through providing criminal support, and through custody and parentage hearings. Once somebody contacts us, we will support them for as long as they want our support. This particular family is wonderful in that in everything going on, Mom has still managed to get a graduate degree, get a good job, and buy a house. And that's in the last 4 years. So I don't want you to think that this is all gloom and doom, because I've been doing this since 1987, and watching people find their power and move on is so heartening. So let's talk slightly about this current administration. The tactics they are using are abuser tactics. What we are all feeling right now, the chaos, the uncertainty, the fear, is what folks who are in an abusive relationship feel every day. We're just getting to experience it now, unfortunately. The increased chaos, the gaslighting, the not adhering to truth. And if anybody's been in an abusive relationship, you know that part of that situation is not telling the truth and making you believe that you're not sure what the truth is. And that's exactly what this administration is doing. Like I said, the antithesis of abuse is community. What you are all doing here is the antidote to abuse. I really appreciate being here today. I will be at coffee hour, so if anybody wants to talk, just a few things. We need your donations, which we're getting some of today, which is lovely. We need toilet paper. Think about your house and times it by 6, okay? That's how much toilet paper we go through. Same thing for dish detergent and laundry detergent and any of those kinds of items. We need gift cards for Walmart or for gas. Those kinds of things are things that we just hand out to people because often people come to us and there's such a thing called financial abuse. Often they don't have access to money. Often their credit has been compromised tremendously, all kinds of things. So we help people get past the hump until they can get connected to some resources. The other thing we need is volunteers. Like I said, our hotline is answered by volunteers and by staff, but right now there's only 5 full-time folks, okay? And last year, we answered the phone more than 4,500 times, okay? We provide services to, last year was about 500 unduplicated people. So that's all over and over again, people use services. The other thing we need is board members. So if anyone has board experience or a desire to sit on a nonprofit board, that is a working board and a fundraising board, talk to me. That would be great. Thank you all. Thank you all for sharing your community with me today. It's lovely. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane, for that information and that affirmation that our church is a wonderful place. The offering that we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit this place to our community and to the values of our faith. Our offering is an affirmation to practicing Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation, to empower our mission to welcome all in building a loving community. And I do want to remind you that there are joys and concern cards that were next to the pouches. So if you want to put that in the pouch to be read, those are available. Half of all your cash offerings today will be that you place in the green pouches at the end of pews will benefit Circle. The other half will support the mission and ministry of this congregation. If you're writing a check this morning, please indicate in the memo line what it is for. That way you can also designate a portion of your check to Circle. Thank you. This morning, the choir offering is My Life is Made Worthwhile, written in 1942 by Norbert Čapek while he was at the concentration camp at Dachau, Germany. Čapek was the founder of Unitarian Church in Czechoslovakia and worked tirelessly for religious freedom. It is said that while in prison, he kept his fellow spirits up with dauntless humor and cheerful spirit. Just before his death, he wrote a prayer that the choir will sing in honor of his words. It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals.
Thank you, choir. Before we begin our time of meditation and prayer, I'm just going to check with our ushers and make sure that there weren't any cards submitted, joys and concerns. It didn't look like it. Okay, thank you. So I invite you all to join now in our time of meditation and prayer, just settling into where you are, noticing the quality of your heart and your presence this morning. And though we are not speaking aloud any of our joys or sorrows, I know that our hearts must be full. And so we offer our loving presence to all that might be on our heart, all the people, the places, all that is unfolding in the world that we carry with us. Offering our compassion to all those who are suffering, all those who face violence and abuse, all those who are grieving, all those who may face a health challenge of any kind. And all those also who hold gratitude in their hearts for all the joys that we share, the delight that we find amidst it all. We hold this all tenderly. And I invite you into a meditation practice that was developed by the Reverend Cameron Trimble. It's something we'll do together now, and it's something that you can do each day. And first, we simply plant our feet wherever they are, sitting or standing with your feet firmly on the ground, closing your eyes if that feels safe to do so. And now breathing with intention. We take 5 slow, deep breaths. With each inhale, imagine drawing strength from the earth beneath you. That strength coming right through the soles of your feet and into your body as you inhale. And with each exhale, releasing tension, fear, and overwhelm. Inhaling strength and exhaling in release. As you breathe, you can repeat quietly to yourself, I am steady, I am clear, I am not alone. I am steady, I am clear, I am not alone. Let this mantra anchor you, reminding you that resilience begins within. I am steady, I am clear, I am not alone. And finally, picture the community that you are building, whether it's your family, your neighborhood, or this congregation. See it as a place where compassion thrives and fear loses its grip. Let us breathe together a few more moments as we hold these visions for compassion and as we feel ourselves rooted together. So there are 2 readings listed in the order of service, and I am actually just going to share one with you this morning. It's the reading by Starhawk, Community Means Strength. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned, we can only catch glimpses of from time to time, community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us, eyes will light up as we enter, voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, a circle of friends, someplace where we can be free. Norbert Čapek, who composed the song the choir sang this morning, grew up in South Bohemia, then part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire at the end of the 19th century. Disillusioned with the Catholic faith of his upbringing, he became a Baptist. And as political unrest grew and his liberal views put him at risk, he left his homeland, and he eventually found Unitarianism in the United States. After Czechoslovakia had gained independence, and after he had pastored a few churches in the US, Čapek returned in 1921 to establish the Liberal Religious Fellowship, later the Unitarian Church in Prague, as a haven for open inquiry, inclusion, and ethical living. People were hungry for this vision, and the congregation flourished, growing to thousands of members. Meanwhile, as the Nazi regime rose in Germany, Prague became a refuge for intellectuals and radicals. Seeing the increasing threats as well as the humanitarian needs, a Unitarian minister from Massachusetts, Waitzel Sharp, and his wife Martha, a social worker, were asked to go to Europe to aid the Unitarian Church in Prague, which had become a stronghold of dissent and resistance. Once they were there, the Sharps quickly realized that they had to do more than just provide material aid. They were called to help people escape. And using their connections in London, in Paris, and the United States, they secured visas and arranged housing and jobs for refugees. Martha personally escorted groups across the border using her American passport as cover, while the Reverend Sharp devised financial networks, some might call it ethical money laundering, to ensure that refugees had access to funds once they fled. When the Gestapo closed in, the Sharps narrowly escaped, and they returned to the United States just as World War II broke out. But their work was not finished. Less than a year later, the president of the then American Unitarian Association asked them to establish a mission in Europe under the newly formed Unitarian Service Committee, which continued their life-saving efforts. Tragically, Reverend Čapek was not among those who escaped. In 1941, he was arrested for his resistance to fascism. He was sent to Dachau concentration camp, where he was killed in 1942. I don't share these stories to valorize the heroic efforts of these individuals. The Sharps did not act alone. They worked within a network of courageous individuals committed to protecting the persecuted. And though Čapek's life was lost, his vision endured through his congregation, which remained a beacon of freedom, courage, and love, carrying his legacy forward in defiance of oppression. In Community Means Strength, Starhawk reminds us of the deep human longing for a home we may have never known but still ache for, a community where we are seen, where our voices do not falter, where hands open to receive us and hold us when we struggle. Čapek created such a place in Prague at a time of great societal upheaval. He created a spiritual home where people could find refuge in one another, rooted in shared values of love and justice. And the Sharps as well wove together a circle of resistance, reaching out with strength that joined strength to do the work that needed to be done. With the realities before us in our time, it is easy and understandable to become overwhelmed by the chaos and uncertainty that surrounds us. 2 weeks ago, Ginny Sassaman shared some broader context for the chaos and uncertainty we're now facing. It may be that we are in a fourth turning of societal crisis or in a period of civilizational collapse. However we might understand this particular moment within the long view of history, we know that many things are falling apart, and this falling apart is overwhelming. Margaret Wheatley, co-founder of the Berkana Institute and a leader in organizational behavior and change, has said, "Fear of the uncertainty that we face when perceived as a threat can cause us to retreat from one another, from values that held us together, from ideas and practices that encouraged inclusion, from faith in leaders, from belief in basic human goodness. But whatever the problem, community is the answer." Wheatley reminds us that we are not called to retreat. We are called to create. We are called to create spaces in community where love, compassion, and reason can flourish. Spaces where all can find healing and wholeness. Spaces like this congregation. Spaces like the Unitarian Church in Prague under Čapek's leadership, and spaces like the network of resistance that the Sharps and their allies built during a time of persecution. Ilya Prigozhin was a Nobel Prize-winning chemist whose family escaped an oppressive Russian regime. He went on to study thermodynamics, and he once said, "When a complex system is far from equilibrium, small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos have the capacity to shift the entire system to a higher order." Prigozhin's words suggest that even in times of chaos, small islands of coherence have the potential to shift the broader environment. And I believe that our congregation can be such an island of sanity, of connection, a place where we draw from each other's strength to face the uncertainty of the world. Just as Čapek and his congregation stood firm in a time of upheaval, and just as the Sharps and their network took risks to save lives, each of you makes it possible for our congregation to be an anchor in a sea of chaos. Your presence here, your rootedness in your own sense of purpose and commitment, and your openness to beauty and joy make it possible. In the past 3 days, you have shown how it is possible to be an island, a sanctuary in the chaos, as you have gathered to share your gifts of song and music and humor at the talent show on Friday, as you have brought people together who want to create a climate-resilient future, hosting Third Act yesterday afternoon, as you have shared your wonder for birds and affirmed our healing connection to the natural world, as you did at the Clark Lecture yesterday evening. But this island does not stand alone. Just as none of you as individuals is alone in facing this moment of societal crisis, our community isn't alone either. We're more like an island that's part of an archipelago. This might be where I'm stretching the metaphor, but just go with me. Linked to other communities, we're part of a larger movement of people seeking justice, love, and healing. We're called to connect with others, to share resources and wisdom, to work together for the greater good. We are but one pocket of coherence trying to hold steady in the chaos, and we are joined by other faith communities who are opening their spaces to those with no safety net, by coaches in our community who are offering welcome and encouragement to athletes of all genders on the track and soccer fields, by groups of neighbors forming giving circles to support grassroots democracy in action. These islands of coherence don't have to be big, but together they can hold together long enough for chaos and collapse to give way to new patterns of thriving and flourishing. After the 2023 flood, and again after the 2024 flood, we began to see some of these new patterns emerging. One example is the collaboration of downtown churches to prepare and offer meals at one location. Rather than clinging to individual identities and ways of doing things, our congregation and others have joined together to share a kitchen and a dining room and to work together through challenges to build a stronger, more connected, and more collaborative community. New patterns continue to emerge that reject the chaos of going it alone in favor of mutuality and interdependence. New patterns continue to emerge of broad-based, inclusive democracy. And new patterns will continue to emerge as we stick together and do the work that needs to be done. Each day, each of us can do something to build stronger connections and to nurture clarity rather than confusion. This is the work of resistance and renewal. This is the work that Čapek, the Sharps, and so many before us have taken on. Our congregation is a community in which we get to practice this together. We create a linkage between who and what we love, the values that we seek to live by, and our actions in the world. And as Unitarian Universalists, we center our lives on love. And what if love is our shared purpose, as Jay Abernathy suggested in our chalice lighting words? What if love is our purpose, not as a sentimental ideal, but as the foundation upon which all our actions are built? Love is the force that connects us to one another, to the earth, and to all beings. Love is the purpose that calls us to act with compassion, with curiosity, and with open hearts. Starhawk tells us that community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. And strong is what we make each other. When we stand together, when we create spaces of belonging, when we reach out our hands in welcome and support, we become stronger. and we can create a world that reflects the love that we center here. A world where justice, compassion, and peace are not distant ideals, but living, breathing truths. This is our purpose, and we fulfill it together. Let us keep our hearts open, our minds curious, and our hands ready to serve. For in doing so, we create the very community that we long for, a place where strength is shared and love is the foundation, someplace where we can be free. Let us be that community together. And let us join our voices for our closing hymn, Sia Hamba. The words are going to be projected up front, and Danya's going to give us a little bit of instruction, but please rise and body your spirit.
I think, yes, it's on, good. This hymn is probably very familiar to some of you, less so to others, but regardless, it's really easy to get tripped up on the words. So we're going to practice just a little bit so that you're a little bit more comfortable when we get singing. So the first verse is going to be in Zulu, and it goes, I'll say it, and then you can repeat after me. Siaham bekuka nyen kwen kos. Siaham bekuka nyen kwen kos. And that is the totality of the words. You just repeat it a bunch of times. So you're going to do great. I don't think you need help with the English, but I don't think we have ever done the Spanish, and we're going to do the Spanish today. And excuse me if my pronunciation is not perfect, but caminando en la luz de Dios. Caminando en la luz de Dios. And that's the order we're going to do it. They will be up there in order, and let's go. Come on, choir. Come on, choir.
As we draw our service to a close, we extinguish the chalice and carry within each of us its healing flame, the warmth of community, and the spark of hope into the days and weeks ahead. Please join in our unison mission statement. welcome all as we build a loving community to nurture each person's spiritual journey, to serve human need, and protect the earth, our home.
And as you go from here, may you keep marching in that light of God, the light of justice, the light of community into the days and the week ahead, returning to this beloved place, to this beloved people once again. And we conclude our service with the postlude.